Hey, what's up, beautiful jellyfish? It's Tracy, the Jellyfish Queen, and today I want to do a video talking all about sideboard lists in Modern. And what I kind of mean by this, I want to give this sort of visualization for people who are like me, who like visual elements. What do I mean when I say a sideboard list in Modern? Really in anything, but I'm mainly talking about Modern here. Okay, this is a sideboard list, right? Okay, please ignore my terrible handwriting, and please ignore this impromptu. This was like on the back of my notes that I'm going to talk about, my points. You have your sheet of paper, right? And you mention here, you know, Tron. That's the matchup you're going to be playing against. Say you're playing, like, I wrote negate here, so say you're playing, I don't know, some blue strategy. It's blue-white something. So say it's like Jeskai control. Oh, deck's sweet. So say you're like, you know what? Supreme Verdict. Really, really bad in the Tron matchup, in certain Tron matchups. I've already got 4 on my board. I don't really need 4. Let's just take out 2 of them. Change it for negates, because negate's pretty good in that matchup. Counters like Karn. Like, yeah, negate's really good. Yeah, so that would be a really good example of like what a sideboard list would look like. So I want to talk about kind of some pros, kind of some cons about sideboard lists. I think, and kind of my first point is that I think a lot of people are too reliant on their sideboard list, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying that I was totally like that in Magic. I was so addicted to my list, and I felt like if it was my security blanket, and I felt like if someone took it away from me, I was just gonna like crawl out of a ball and like die, because I felt so vulnerable if I didn't have my sideboard list, because I had no idea what to sideboard in. And I'll kind of talk about like how to go through that process and like what I would recommend for like doing that. But I think like a step 1 is if you're someone who's addicted to sideboard lists, and like take a step back and be like, whoa, hold up. I may have a thing, and I'll talk about some points about why sideboard lists can be helpful and can be harmful. Okay, so one major thing about your sideboard is that it should be changing all the time. I say this all the time. If you're playing with a stagnant sideboard, you're doing it wrong. You have to change your sideboard all the time, because are you going to big, large competitive events where you've seen a rise of Jund decks and you need to accommodate your sideboard for Jund decks because nothing in your sideboard does? Okay, you need to change your sideboard. If you're going to a super, super large tournament with like 5,000 million people, you're like, okay, I need my sideboard to be spread thin. I need my sideboard to accommodate a ton of different decks because I have no idea what I'm going to be seeing. That's like another major thing about sideboards, is like, you always say, I'm going to see these decks. Guess what? You don't see those decks. You need to accommodate for everything because you have no idea what's going to walk through that door. And I totally stole that line from Pawn Stars. Anyone remember that story? You never know what's going to see when you walk through that door. Show was really great. I had a problem with that show at one point. I really liked it. I watched like a ton of weird shows. Can I say, like, when I was young, I watched like What Not to Wear. I watched like that wedding dress show, even though I don't even know if I'm gonna get married. Like, I don't know. Just, I watch weird shows. Okay. Yeah, so basically, you know, your sideboard should change constantly, and you need to make changes based on your meta. Or if you're going to your local game store every night, and then everyone again gets on this Eldrazi kick, and they're like, everyone plays Eldrazi, you need to accommodate your sideboard for that. So it should always change. So that's like a downfall of having a sideboard list, because your sideboard list should always change with the meta that you're going to. Have multiple sideboard lists, who cares? Okay, next point. Jot down helpful cards in certain matchups. This is like really important because again, if you make a sideboard list, it doesn't mean that it's right. It doesn't mean that like, oh, if I change out card, okay, like let's just take this example. You could be playing a Tron matchup that's super creature heavy, and if this is your sideboard plan, this could actually be really bad, which is kind of a bad example because most Tron matchups are actually, that's a lie. I've seen some jank things. You guys know I love jank. It's my middle name. But this could actually be very incorrect information, where this could actually be terrible. So if you strictly go by the book and you're like a book follower and this is like your guide, your Bible, and you go by this, no, you gotta like stray away from that, because you know what? Jot down several things, and you know what? I actually want to go into another point. Let's just like make a little arrow so I like middle squiggly arrow. Okay, so yeah, jot down several cards, because again, like, you know, you can say, oh, in the Abzan matchup, card X is super good because it stops this thing. Like, if you're playing against any sort of deck that runs like Lingering Souls, for example, you know, certain cards like Zealous Persecution are really good against that, or Is It Staticaster, and things that you have in your sideboard that you're like, oh, well, they're playing this card. This card's really good against it, or, great example, Pithing Needle, super good against Planeswalkers. Super good if you're running Pithing Needle, which you should because I love that card. It's a great sideboard card. Run Pithing Needle and then play it against Planeswalkers because it's a fantastic thing to play against them. Someone like shut down my Elspeth Suns champion. Guys, it was not a great day. I was very upset. Okay, yeah. Or do it by memory, but if you're someone who needs to, you know, jot it down. Like me, I make lists. I'm a list person. I write things down. Okay, and then this goes into like this point that I was mentioning earlier. Okay, one issue with sideboard lists is they don't accommodate to various different decks. So I'm someone who does wacky things, and if someone was trying to like say, oh, Tracy, you're playing Abzan. Oh man, she's probably playing a traditional Abzan. LOL. No, I'm not. Abzan probably plays cards X, Y, and Z, and if you know anything about me, you know I'm not going to be running X, Y, and Z because I'm running Q, F, and D because it's just who I am. So I run random cards, and if people are trying to like accommodate and say, oh, well, Tracy is playing Abzan, so she's probably doing this, so I need to sideboard for this, you're probably wrong because I'm probably going to be doing something different. So the issue with sideboard lists, an issue, is that people don't accommodate for various different decks, and let's be real here, guys. Decks, they're very, very different. You can have like Abzan is a great example. I keep talking about Abzan, but Abzan has so many variations. Like, I mean, I did like a deck tech, and like you can really take that deck and use very, very minimal cards that are like the same. Like the bones can be the same. You run like Lingering Souls and like Tarmogoyf, but not all builds run Tarmogoyf, and I talked about that. So yeah, you need to like accommodate for various different decks in your sideboard list, which is really hard to do, which is why having sideboard lists is a major issue. You can do like the bare bones of a sideboard list if you really need to, but you know what? There's so many different variations of lists, it's hard to keep up with everything. Okay, major tip for how to sideboard. Look at your cards and say, is this card good in this matchup? And there's certain cards that are like just gonna be really bad. They're gonna be like really awful things. So an example is you're playing against elves and you're playing some sort of blue strategy. The card Negate, for example, is terrible against elves because elves run like Court of Calling and Collected Company. And that's it. And maybe a splash of like some other instants and sorceries from their sideboard. Like maybe they'll run like Fatal Push or like something like that. Or like Beast Within or like something, but like really, elves, they don't really run that many instants and sorceries. So you want to take out a lot of your your counter spells that have to do with like instants and sorceries, because guess what? Elves doesn't run a lot. And you know what? You can, if they like Coco, you can just be like Supreme Verdict or something like that. You have another answer for it. So like Negate is really bad in creature heavy matchups. So you don't want to run Negate. That's a really good example. So look at like your counterspell and say, oh, Negate, this card's really good. Yeah, it's really good, but it's really bad in this matchup, and go through that. When you're sideboarding, you know, don't take 9 years to sideboard because your opponent's going to accuse you of slow play. So you have to do it in kind of a timely fashion. Sideboarding is not something you're going to be like a pro at in like 3 minutes. Like you have to sideboard a lot, in my opinion, to get really good at it. But, you know, definitely, I totally lost what I was saying. What was I saying? Yeah, like what sideboard cards are going to be good in this matchup? And then like on the flip side, when you're looking at your sideboard saying, oh, they're playing Planeswalkers. Lots of them. Pithing Needle. Oh, because Pithing Needle's great. Or, kind of a bad example because it's super obvious, but you're playing against Affinity. Stony Silence. Oh, they're playing Graveyard Recursion. Rest in Peace. Like, I know it sounds super basic, but like really things like that. And this kind of segues into my other point, that it is totally okay to have more than 60 cards in your sideboard after you sideboard. Certain people will totally advocate against you not doing this. I personally think it's totally fine to have like 61, 62 cards in if you can't take anything out. Because you're like, oh man, like, I have this really hard time with taking these cards out because everything's going to be good in this matchup. Maybe not everything will be great, but it'll be like pretty good. So you're like, I don't want to take out all these cards. Fine, have 61 cards. Who cares? As long as you have 60 cards, it doesn't matter. Have like 61, 62 cards if you need to. And I think that's totally okay to have more if you're having issues with taking things out. So, yeah guys, I think sideboard lists can be really helpful, but I think they're an issue when you become too reliant on them because, again, it's something that should just totally be changing. You should just have sideboard lists like all the time. Don't make the mistakes I did because I like didn't change mine and I never changed my sideboard and it was like very not good. So definitely do that. And make lists. Make notes about what changes you think are going to be beneficial and help you building a better sideboard. So, hey guys, maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll do a video talking about like building a sideboard because I think it's an important thing. So, yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.